It's 11:30 somewhere. I'm going to call our meeting today on Wednesday, January 25th in Box Elder County Commission to order. And it looks like Commissioner Perry isn't here, so I'll give the invocation. And then the Pledge of Allegiance will be given by our auditor, Shirlene Larson. Our dear kind Heavenly Father, as we come before thee this day, we appreciate the moisture we've received and that our mountains may be full of water, that we'll be able to do the things we need to do to grow crops and to be able to drink water and to do the things necessary in this coming year. We appreciate all the things that have been going on throughout the nation, and please bless our officers, not only in our own county, but throughout the world, that they will be held harmless and that they will be able to go home to their families at night. Please watch over not only our county legislative people, but also our Utah as they're in session, that they might be able to have the best interests of our constituents in mind. And that blessing might go well to the federal delegation also. Please, Heavenly Father, please help us to put God back in our country. Please help us to put God back in our hearts. And we might be able to continue to do the things that you would do if you were here. I ask these favors and blessings in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh. Administrative review reports, future agenda items. We took off. Oh, yeah, sorry. You guys, good thing you're here. Have you guys looked over the minutes? I don't know, was Lee on yet? He said he was calling in. Guess it's me and you, Boyd. Have you looked over the minutes? I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes for, and I'm sorry, my iPad just died,
January 4th.
January 4th, 2023.
And I'll second that motion. I have a motion by Commissioner Bingham and a second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor? Aye. Okay, now administrative review reports, future agenda items. We took off bullet point 8, B and C, because we're going to cover that into our RDA and not cancel them, but probably just, yeah, just put them on, postpone them, table them, and I'll let you. We have to do, actually, we have to do both at one point. We have to actually approve it in commission and then have to do RDA on both of them. So at one point, but the point's not here yet. Okay, we can take them off if we need to. Have you got anything, Commissioner?
I know.
We had the opportunity of going down to County Day on the Hill. The first day of the legislation, we had not only the Speaker of the House, but the President of the Senate come speak to us, and us and two were probably the only two people that got up and asked any questions. So Boyd had a really good question about agriculture and water, and I was talking about federal overreach that they're starting to do again now with this administration on not only the non-attainment area, but also they're trying to pigeonhole us and make us shut down not only our coal plants and natural gas plants, but everything that we need to keep going as a community. So we wanted to make them know that the counties don't appreciate the federal government coming in and tell us what we can and can't do, especially when it comes to our constituents. So I like their answers, Boyd. What do you think?
That was a great opportunity to be there and have the President of the Senate, Speaker of the House, and the Governor at least listen to your question. So it was good.
Yeah. And it sounds like they're going to push back as hard as they can legally. So it should be good to be able to continue to work in the next 40 something days to make sure things happen the way we need to. Two of the biggest things that are happening right now is water, of course, a bunch of water bills going out. There's a bunch of things to protect the Great Salt Lake. And then education is a huge one. I'm just trying to think of the other 1,000 bills that's gone through my head in the last 72 hours. So if you have any questions or comments and stuff, feel free to talk to your representatives, email the representatives. I know every Saturday, they usually have some sort of a phone call. You can get on and ask them questions and things like that. So they're pretty accessible. Since COVID, about the only good thing that ever came out of COVID is you don't have to go down to the Salt Lake every day. You can get them on Zooms. You can actually testify on Zooms. So you can listen to all their meetings and such. You don't have to actually go sit there. So plus there's no parking. So if you go there, you might as well plan on either taking an Uber and parking someplace else because there is no parking anywhere now. So. Okay, any emergency management issues? Mark?
No, we're gonna start some discussions here in the next few weeks with the road department, some key folks, start looking at the spring. We're grateful for the snows that we got. We got a lot of snow back. If it was to stop right now, I think we would come in with kind of the annual snowfall that we're just slightly under. Keep going. It's gonna be an issue, but we're gonna look at runoff and
Well, they say the Bearer Range, most of the districts and stuff are 200 plus now.
now that there's a caveat to that because that's based upon this time within the year. If
Mm.
it was to stop right now, then
Yeah,
there would be, then you gotta look at the total and my last understanding, we were just barely under 100% for
Right.
the annual. So, you know, that's the wild card in that, but regardless, we'll start our discussions about preparations that if we don't have an ideal runoff, which.
and it might not be a bad idea to get on our social media and kind of tell people to plan, put up some pictures from 2 years ago? I was at Ace this weekend and saw 4 sump pumps heading out when it was warm. You know, the problem with this last one is their sump pumps were still running, but it was so cold. Their outside things were freezing shut, so they were just regurgitating everything underneath their house, so.
Yeah, so probably the one issue that's different is all that rain when it was warm, so the ground is completely saturated.
Yeah.
Whereas in years past, it's been dry.
And that, you know, let's just, there, you know, a lot of variables in that thing here. You know, how much snow do we continue to gather? How cold do we stay? If we stay abnormally cold and all of a sudden we have a you know, real warm up in mid or late spring, then you've got problems. Well, I mean, there's a lot of different variables and we'll look at that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that saved us a couple of years ago, that the ground froze, but it was so dry when it, thawed, all the water went in. But this time, like Commissioner Bingham said, the ground's saturated already. So my sump pumps have been running for about 6 weeks underneath my house, so love the water.
Start that discussion.
Okay, ARPA,
Most of the expenditures right now are on the fair project. We
okay.
haven't got any requests.
The only other thing we were looking at was the ARPA Plus stuff. You know, the Biden Bucks Plus, the other 900, whatever.
The LATCF.
Yeah, whatever that is. You guys can come in and sit down.
Wait for the rest of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that LAPPCC, whatever that is. Okay,
We've received the first payment.
Okay.
And the next one will come this year sometime.
okay. I don't know if Commissioner Perry's talked to you about expanding the 2 animal shelters.
Yes, he
they've been
did.
concerned about that to the point where they're going to shut down animal control except for their own cities. We do have a contract, right, Kevin, with both of them, since the county has been helping them pay. But we would probably look at that LAPTC to funds to help us to do some override stuff.
We have to track that and report. Would you like them to have some sort of application similar to ARPA or not?
I think the ARPA stuff was so pigeonholed. And this stuff,
Much more open.
yeah, this, you
But I
can,
need a way to
I
track.
think a tracking
which
sheet would
ones
get
you're
fine.
approving for that
Yeah,
money.
like a bank ledger, we can,
Okay.
that way when Nelson, if he's listening, calls us, we can just give him the ledger, what we spent it on, and that'd be easier than trying to remember, so that'd be good. Okay. You got anything else, Boyd, bring up? You said you had something?
I do have something.
Okay.
Lee and I went to that UAC training. And Johnny Miller, you probably know Johnny.
Yeah, I'm
He
on his
did.
board.
He did the training down there and he recommended that everybody have a public comment period in their meeting. And he also recommended, I'm talking about Honeyville experience. Honeyville approved the Roberts Rules of Order. And he stood up there and said, nobody lives by the Roberts Rules of Order because the book's that thick and
We'd have to have a parliamentarian sitting right here. You'd
right.
Go crazy with me being here, huh?
I am the
Yeah.
parliamentarian.
There you go.
But anyway, what he recommended was that we sit down and generate our own to fit our own needs.
Right.
He said that's what we could do and then we would just have to have it there and written up and we could do as long as we abide by it. But he said if you don't abide by those, then you can be guilty of a misdemeanor. I can't remember which one, class B, I think is what he said, something like that. So maybe that's something that we ought to consider.
Okay. Maybe we can have Manny work on that a little bit.
The other thing that he said was that if you, before the legislature right now, there is a bill to mandate that people have a public comment. I mean, that government entities have a public comment period in their meetings. So he recommended that we.
Well,
address
and the
that.
funny thing is about that is that that they don't even have that comment in their own meetings. So it's all kind of come from a, oh yeah, I should say Utah County School District, that they don't feel like they're even able to call their representatives and take care of things. So, but yeah, we'll look into both of those. Thanks for that. The inland port just showed up, so I'm gonna shift gears. And I need a motion to go into our RDA. Is Lee on here yet? He just says, I'm on the phone, but my Zoom camera is not working. So you can hear us.
So I'll make a motion. We go into the RDA meeting.
And I'll second that. I got a motion by Commissioner Bingham and a second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, if Inland Port wants to come up and you can take as many chairs as you need, Van, or and introduce the. Okay. Is it hot in here or is it just me? Ooh. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Marla. 75.
Just-
Puddle in my shoes in a minute.
I feel like you can just reach out and strangle me if I say something you don't
I don't
like.
think I can reach that far.
That would be a good thing to remember. Just kidding.
Oh, I will. No questions about that.
They're just changing the tape. So pull your microphone towards you.
I'll introduce myself.
And I've got to approve RDA minutes before we go on forward. So I had to entertain a motion for RDA minutes. You had a chance to read through those.
I read through them briefly. I move that we approve the RDA minutes.
I'll second that motion. I've got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, a second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor? I guess I have to appoint the RDA chair too before we go to this next one. So I'm legally. So I entertain a motion. It's usually the chair. So I'm not gonna motion myself. So
I move Commissioner Summers be the chair for the RDA.
I'll second that motion. Got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now, introduce yourself. Tell us why you're here and
Yes, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. My name is Ben Hart and Mr. Chair. I am the somewhat newly appointed Executive Director of the Utah Inland Port Authority, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you today. So I'm just going to give a few minutes background and talk a little bit about what's happened during the last 12 months in particular, because that's really what has gotten us here today. Then happy to entertain questions and talk about potential opportunities for partnership. So I'll just cover briefly, the inland port was created about 4 years ago. There were some concerns in the last 12 months, specifically during the last legislative session, that we were not getting what we wanted from the inland port. So there was a change in governance and a new board that was instituted. The new board took their oath of office in May, and ultimately they decided that they needed a leadership change at the Utah Inland Port Authority. That transition happened last summer. I was installed as the new executive director in September. Also during that time, we had an internal audit that was going on. It did not come back
glowingly well, and it gave us an opportunity to make some improvements, and we're always grateful for the opportunity to improve. So the last 6 months, 4 months since September, has been a time of change at the Utah Inland Port Authority. There was previously a lot of really good ideas, but there was just failure to act. And I think that was one of our most common concerns. One of the most common concerns was this board had been given significant opportunities, capabilities in state statute, but it was not getting anything done. And I think that's where we have been pushed by our board, is not just to make sure that we have really strong internal controls. We've gone through a whole governance restructure, but also ensuring that we've got the right financial policies in place. We've had to redo all of that and kind of start over in terms of building the organization up. I feel much more comfortable now with where we're at and how we've been able to rebuild the organization. But more importantly than that, the substance of our organization has changed. And now we are much more focused on how do we help communities? How do we partner and make sure that what we're doing and these facilities ultimately that we help to build throughout the state really help to build the entire region and become something that will help to grow the entire economic pie throughout northern Utah, as we're looking at this area. So our opportunity now is we've been transitioning. We have access to a limited amount of funding, but some funding through our infrastructure bank. And we also have the ability to set up similar to, and hence the RDA, similar to what would be an RDA project area. Our statute allows us to come in and to work with one taxing entity, in this case, or whatever case it could be, Box Elder County. And if that county is willing to invite us in via resolution, then we are able to designate a certain specific area for a project area status. That project area status is a little bit enhanced in the sense that, one, it gives you access to the infrastructure bank to help build whatever logistics facilities or logistics infrastructure you would like to build. Two, it also gives the community, in partnership with the Inland Port, access to all of that tax differential. And so if you're familiar with the concept of tax increment under 17C, the RDA law, ours is called tax increment, but it's the exact same process. We establish a base year, and then everything above that base year would be reinvested back into the project area. So you could help to pay off an infrastructure bank loan. You could help to pay for roads on the facility, sewer, utilities, whatever it may be. If you're wanting to incentivize business, you've kind of got the full range of gamut. So then partnering with the Inland Port, it's not just, but it is about helping to build the right infrastructure in your community, but then it's also about making the right investments to ensure that we're economically optimizing the area, and then really working around the region, Cache Valley, West Weaver County, wherever it may be, to make sure that people are aware of this facility, whatever it may be, and that we have as many people using it as is possible. And our goal is to take trucks off the road, to help companies expand, and ultimately to help grow the overall economy here in this region. And we hope that as businesses have new logistics capabilities, that it gives them the ability to expand. But in my prior role at the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, Economic Development, we were very, very in awe, can I say that, of what Box Elder County was doing. And I felt like, for me personally, I felt like the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, it was great, but it was always hands off. It was always just kind of down in Salt Lake City. I love the Inland Port because we get a chance to come in and really help communities to work hand in glove. And instead of just being this distant office down in Salt Lake, we want to be part of the community. That's part of the goal. And so in all of this, we don't want any of this to be daunting, but our new pivot really is, how do we make sure that we're working hand in glove with communities to help them achieve their goals? And so ultimately, as we look at partnerships and the next steps, what we would look for as soon as a resolution is passed by a community to invite us in and to be part of a project area, then we would start working on whatever infrastructure, help with whatever infrastructure. If there's financing needed, we'd start, kind of helping with those dynamics. We would ask for, because there is typically investment that is needed, the project area be established so that we're able to start working through those dynamics as well. And then we really can hit the ground running from there. From there, it's how do we create volume going through through a logistics facility? Are you interested in having kind of a single identity for marketing and branding purposes here in Box Elder County? What kind of businesses are you targeting for expansion here locally? Do you want, some of your local businesses to be able to expand? Do you want to attract new businesses in? Whatever your goals are, we're very, very much community facing and community focused. We do want to be able to tie this to a facility, whether it's at a port, a coastal port, whether it's into an intermodal facility in Salt Lake City, whatever it is, we want to be able to enhance that partnership. But through that, we feel like we can really help businesses with their logistics needs and also help the community as well. And so that is our pivot point. It feels like 4 years in 4 months, if I'm being honest. It's been a lot of work. We feel like we've got a lot of work still to go across the state, but we're ready to move now. And instead of, just being an idea or a concept, we feel like we're ready to start implementing. So as communities are ready, we are ready to respond and to move. So.
And Ben's selling himself short because I've had multiple people come up here from Salt Lake in the last however many years this has been an idea. And the last time we met, since Box Elder's kind of ahead of the curve, we've already got 6 sites with RDAs positioned to be able to do this type of work. We've had companies coming to us and asking us to get this done, to the point where your predecessor, I basically said, well, we're either going to do this with or without you. So, and it means a lot for these trucking companies with the gas, diesel prices and stuff, that they can get their goods and services on rail and get them to the companies they need to go to that much faster. It's all about kind of bottom line, but then it's also about air quality and things like that. So I've always said, if the people from the state of Utah always say that we're the crossroads of the West in Utah, but Box Elder County is the crossroads of Utah when it comes to that. So between I-15, 84 and US 91, things flow through us. So when I met with their team 2 weeks ago,
Yeah. And
they asked us how soon we wanted to do it. And I said yesterday. So that's the reason they're up here today, is to be able to get a resolution with the RDA to start talking about how we continue these 6 sites to be able to help, farmers, ranchers, Procter & Gamble, Nucor, Autoliv, all these people that use rail and have the infrastructure to be able to come to and from, to be able to do it through Box Elder County and not have to go into the belly of the beast. And I had a trucking company from Idaho actually called me and said, if you guys get this done, he says, I'm going to come kiss you on the mouth. So I got that to look forward to too, from some big old gruff trucking company guy in the north coming to.
So where are these 6 sites? Sam?
Bailey Farms, there's one over by the church off of Corinne.
Oh, yeah.
The 600 acres off of that one. Lazy Boy, the airport, and Washakie, and I'm missing one.
So those are pretty much already established. We're not be tearing up new ground.
Yeah, no, everything's there. We actually just have to connect a lot of infrastructure, like you said, with that. Somebody needs to move, turn the lights back on.
Yeah, for us, a project area does not need to be adjacent. You can have as many, and we just look to the community in terms of what they would like to include. The facility, like a major facility, is probably just going to be built one place. Obviously, you might have spurs and things like that, but focus it in on one area. But then, are there other areas that you really want to see enhanced throughout the county? And that's where we kind of take the lead of the county.
So one of the biggest things that was going on through here was some of the hay products and foliage and things they were getting put on a rail going to Salt Lake City, and then it would sit in one of those containers for months. And the product would go bad, everything would, and it's kind of a hard thing to be able to continue in business when you can't control. And that's, not the thing, but where we can pass customs here and go straight to the dock and not have to pass customs and things like that, that's a huge win. So.
Yeah, and even getting onto rail, customs is going to be interesting. We've been having that conversation more intensely, and working with the federal government is never an easy thing to do, as you can imagine. And so we do want to see that customs clearance more in different places throughout the state. So that'll be one piece. But I would say, not only is a resolution the beginning of just a process to get the project areas adopted, And that's a good process in and of itself. Our board will have to have public meetings, take public comment, and then ultimately adopt the project area plan and budget. We'd work on that project area plan and budget with the community. But this is really step one in terms of that larger logistical play as well. So how do you start? What's the right size facility? And then how do you build on that? What other capabilities do you want to add down the road? I mean, this really could, to Commissioner Summers' point, I mean, this really could be a significant, logistics area. The one thing I would say is you just got to remember the question, why? And if it's really to help the economy, and then keep that as the goal. I think there was the idea with the port, and they kind of lost sight of that vision a little bit and almost became more promotional and really just trying to focus on the logistics industry itself, which was not bad. It just didn't give them the results that they wanted. It didn't get us anywhere, especially during a very rough time with COVID. And so if it really is, let's help the economy, let's make sure that we stay focused on what that aim and goal is.
Well, and one thing we told those other guys when they came that I think the last count, we have 3,700 trucks that come in and Box Elder and call home.
Mm.
So it means a lot to the trucking companies. So.
So I'm
Mr. Mr. Chair, this is Lee, Commissioner Perry. Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Is this the first place that's actually got this all put together to move forward? Is Box Elder County the first that's got everything in place?
Depends how quickly you move. It'll be a race between Brigham City Box Elder County and Iron County.
and I don't consider it a race. I think we're kind of counterparts each other to help, both
Well
areas
said.
of the state. So
You want to move the right rate.
rural communities need all the help they can get. And like I said, when it comes to trucking companies and $5 diesel, but that's what we've been planning on for the last, ever since it happened. I've been working towards this. I'm glad Ben came and got your team here so we can actually move forward in this and help the industries.
Yeah. well
So,
said.
so how does this affect Box Elder County if we pass this resolution, is Box Elder County still in charge or is the state in charge?
Well, so it's a very good question. And the way I would say it is, just to speak candidly, on the financial side, we would work with the county, and the inland port would play kind of the role of the RDA. And so in terms of financing, but how that money is invested is we would work with the county. And so if it's to pay back an infrastructure loan, if it's to reinvest in the site, all of it has to, per statute, has to be used to benefit those project areas or directly in those project areas. So none of this money goes anywhere else. All of it stays here to help these project areas. So we would have kind of shared administration, if that makes sense. And it totally depends on the long-term goals. If it's a business incentive, that might be something the county wants to play a bigger role in. If it's globally making sure that you're connected into the global marketplace with this logistics and its marketing, that might be something that we help out a little bit more on. Just kind of, we'll define those roles, but we're not going to get ahead of the county. So to your question, who really holds all the cards here? It's the county. I mean, we're going to take your lead, and there may be administrative functions that are different than what a standard RDA project area looks like, but functionally you hold all the cards.
And I
So-
can see this being a public-private partnership. I mean, I've already had people that have an RDA. They've actually already gone through customs and started the process so people could actually have a customs thing on their ground. So,
So you're talking about the county identifying the locations
Yeah.
and the plan and the vision going forward. Then you're going to give us help and funding options and things of that nature.
Yes, absolutely. And I think where we come into play is if the county were to say, look, we just want you to do everything, then we'd say, okay, that's fine. If you say, no, we want to make sure that we're at least high level control, we're fine with that. But in terms of, okay, how do we work with Union Pacific to optimize this location, or whatever vendor it may be that operates the facility, if it's Bailey or if it's Savage or whatever other vendor that may be out there, we can work with them. If it's international marketing, if it's connections, that's probably a place we take more of a lead on. Just kind of depends on how much, what you want to build first, and then how we really make sure that we're optimizing that. And then there's a tie, and this has gotten a few people confused, but with the Salt Lake jurisdictional area, you've got 16,000 acres. I would not recommend that much land anywhere near that up here. But the idea was that it's not just about the facility. whatever facility we decide to build in the Northwest Quadrant, it really is about how do you optimize the economy around it as well. And so there's this interplay in our statute that's a little bit difficult to understand unless you do this full time, but it allows us to say, okay, it's not just about the logistics facility. How do we make sure we get the companies here you want and get the companies to expand that are already here that you want to expand? So there's this tie-in and there's this interplay between economic growth and between the port, the logistics facility.
So I have a reputation.
You're fine. Yeah.
So how do we make sure that the people who live here and work here in Box Elder County understand this plan, the intricacies, how it's going to affect their life? One thing that's kind of unique about Box Elder County, there's a lot of agriculture here. And those people are kind of nervous, especially when the state has somebody from the state gets involved, because we kind of feel like that we lose control of what we have. And agriculture is a pretty big deal in Box Elder County. And I can see what you're saying, that being able to move that product would be a great benefit, but there's got to be a balance so that we don't overrun and take away from.
Well, and I can actually see,
resources.
Boyd, that after this is all put together, if we do 6 sites, I would say that 90% of the things are going to happen through the inland port and the people that are owning the ground and the people that are in processing and stuff. And we'll just be the high level pass through to where it'll be the farmers and ranchers and truckers and P&G and Nucor and that type of thing. We're just actually getting them access to this idea is how we're doing it. It's almost like a water park or water line or a sewer line. Government sometimes comes in and gets it, but then the constituents and everybody else are really the winners in the whole thing.
Yeah, and Commissioner Summers, to your point, Mr. Chair, I think, I can't remember if this is the way you phrased it, but that 90% who really benefits from this, I think, just my opinion, looking on the outside in, we'll get more involved, obviously. I think 90% of this is going to be local businesses, and a lot of that will be agricultural producers, because when you can put it on a train here and get it where you need to go, it opens up a lot of options for you. And so I think whether it's ag exports, whether it's others, I think there's some great manufacturers that are already here in the area. This will give some new advantages too. And so I think that's where we really want to help. I think that's first, where the community does say, maybe we want, some type of an aerospace provider to really try and optimize what we're doing at the airport. Then we would engage with you on that and say, let's go target and find the person that you want. Or other parts of the state, they want to do more ag meat production and shipping. And so we're talking with them about what that looks like. So our goal in this is not to go recruit a bunch of new businesses or anything like that. It really is, how do we help the local economy?
Okay,
And this
thanks.
is pretty high level. I mean, honestly, and the reason we're here is because one company is pushing this. But we have 6 sites already done, and the one company is very, very appreciative of this effort going on right now. I can just tell you that. So, so if you got any more questions? Lee, you got anything? It's like I'm talking.
No, I'm comfortable. I think this is good.
Okay. Well, we have the resolution in front of us.
Okay.
So I'd entertain a motion to pass the resolution for Box Elder County to be able to come in talking with the inland port to be able to do the things here in Box Elder County.
So
I'd
moved.
make that motion.
I'll
Yeah.
second it.
Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Perry and a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye.
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 That's awesome.
You're gonna keep us busy.
Yeah, we're gonna keep you busy. Now you're gonna have to answer your phone all the time. That's one thing about Ben and his team. I've been so impressed of their accessibility. I mean, I've known Ben for a long time in government, and he has done a good job wherever he's went. So I was excited when they said he was going to become a member of the inland port. And I'm like, I got on your second day, had a tour up here in Box Elder County. And now we here sit, 4 months from the time you were positioned. So that is awesome. Thank you for making the drive up
Thanks.
here. Do
Sorry about all the questions.
You want to introduce all your team?
Yes, in fact, I was just going to ask if I could. So with me and the people that we'll be working with on this project, Scott Wolford here on the end is our director for outreach. And so he's kind of the tip of the spear. Anything you need into the office kind of comes through Scott. Next to him is Lynn, who handles the business development outreach. And so she keeps us all moving in the right direction. Ben Bai is our CFO at the port, so all money things he'll oversee. Alan Evans, who is our executive VP at the port, and he's been handling a lot of our touch points with special projects and difficult items. And then behind him, Stephen Smith, who handles business development outreach with Scott and also marketing recruitment, some of those different dynamics as well.
So you might want to change the name,
Please.
because in Perry, we have a port that nobody likes to go through. You might want to consider changing that.
Hey, and I'll tell you one
Yeah,
thing.
but it's got a good name though.
So it must be happening pretty quick, because I actually had a representative from Union Pacific call me yesterday and said, Summers, you finally got this done. And I said, yeah. I said, are you guys on board, or do we have to go around you? And they said, we're on board. So we need to just have more discussions and get them busy too. So
Yeah, this is the first discussion for sure.
thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
thanks.
you coming up.
Okay.
Thanks. Do you want a copy of that we can send to you? Is that, well, this is without the number. Doesn't have my signature. You want me to sign that one? Okay, I signed the right one. Okay, thanks, you guys. I'd entertain a motion between hugs to close the RDA.
You're not gonna do the general.
No, we're actually taking that to the next, probably the 1st of February.
I move we close the RDA meeting.
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye.
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 Hey, sorry about that, guys, for having to go through that. We're going to reappoint Kate Palmer.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Kate Palmer to the Health Department for another 3-year term.
Oh, hold on. Oh, we got to switch back, Lee. Sorry. Marla was busy hugging the constituents.
Oh.
Did that go on the record?
Recorded minute.
I can just tell you, Jordan Mathis caught me at the session a couple days ago and said that he was excited about having you continue to serve, Cade, so we can make it official here in a second. Okay, do you want to redo that, Lee?
Yes, I would make a motion that we reappoint Kate Palmer to be on the Bear River Health Department for another 3-year term, or however long the term is.
Okay,
I'll second it.
I got a motion by Commissioner Perry and a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And now we get to hear from, come on up, Rob. Thank you. Sorry about making you sit through that, but probably not. You know me.
Rob Johnson from Bear River Mental Health. Each year we come to fulfill a state code that says that the local mental health authority will have a chance to discuss the audit with a member of the executive team from Bear River Mental Health, and I'm here to fulfill that. And then we also need an approval of the audit and then this signed certification that this happened. So on page 5 of the audit is the independent auditor's report. And second paragraph down on page 5 is their opinion. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of Bear Mental Health Services, Inc. and those years. And then if we move to page 25, this is a report on control over financial reporting and other compliance matters. And there in that last paragraph on page 25, they state, during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control, and we consider to be material weaknesses. And on the next page, the bottom of the first paragraph, the results of our test disclosed no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under the government auditing standards. On to the next page, this is a report to our board. Jeff Scott's been sitting on that for last year. And there at the bottom of that page, right before this, the plan scope of timing, they just state they did not identify any significant control deficiencies or other matters during their audit. So it was a clean audit. If we flip back to page 8, I'll just go over a few highlights and then any questions that you have. So down there in the middle of our liabilities and assets is the unexpended county funds. Let me just explain that to you. You guys are on a calendar year, we're on a state fiscal year. So you're budgeting at a time before we know what the legislature is going to give us. So we ask for a budget. If you ever budget more than the required 20% match that we need for the state funds, we put it on our balance sheet as an unexpended county funds that you could use at some other time when you didn't have enough, when the state gave too much in the first 6 months before you could get your budget done. So of that 80,458 between the 3 counties, almost 50,000 of that, 49,800 is Box Elder counties. On to the next page is our on to page 9 is the statement of activities or our income statement. I say this each time I come. If you think of our funding at Bear River Mental Health as an upside down pyramid, it all balances on the county funds. The county funds are what bring down the state funds, that 20% match that we talked about. And then those state and county funds match the Medicaid dollars to bring those Medicaid dollars in for services. So that $471,000 of county funds there, third line from the top, allows us to leverage and bring in over $18 million to provide services in the Tri-County area. And we appreciate that Box Elder County has always been willing to make that 20% match. And it's allowed us to provide a lot of good services. We had a very good year. Our net income was 18%, a little over 18% of our operating revenue. It's with Medicaid expansion and the public health emergency, it's been really good to the mental health centers. Those numbers are not out of line. In fact, they're right in the middle of the rural mental health centers. So we're right in line with the income percentage of the other rural mental health centers.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Any questions?
So what else can we do to help in that aspect so we're not so far in the federal government's pocket? So besides just the $80,000 we give you, how else can we do other things like in kind and or money away to be able to help Bear River Health Department?
You know, I think that when we need stuff, I think Box Elder County has always been good to work with when we need buildings or whatever, and, you know, just continue to be supportive in that way.
So does all your funding come from county, federal, state?
The majority of our funding is Medicaid, and it's capitated. So we're at risk. We're paid a certain amount for each Medicaid eligible in the Tri-County area. Then we take those funds and provide services to the Medicaid folks, but we also provide crisis services to anyone. We're in the schools, we're in Box Elder County schools and providing other services.
Yeah, I was just wondering if any kind of health insurance compensates for any of the services or not.
Yes, it used to be more, but we've become more into the Medicaid side as we've become capitated with them back in 1996. But we do bill third-party insurance, and we do collect some fees from clients that don't have insurance too, on a sliding fee scale.
This is Commissioner Perry. Are you guys still tied in with CISM and also the mental health court over in Cass County?
Yes.
Thank you.
We appreciate the work you do in the Tri-County area. There's no way we could do these kind of things without you. So we appreciate that. I'd entertain a
Big issue.
motion.
Big issue too. It is a
Yeah.
big issue.
That's getting worse. I wish wasn't. I just need to entertain a motion to accept the audit, right?
I move we accept the audit, from Bear River Mental Health
I'll
Services.
second,
I got a
I'll
motion-
second it.
I got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, a second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You'll have to have one of these guys sign Lee's electronic signature, wait till he's back and get the other part of it.
Thanks again for your support.
Oh, thank you for your support. Wish we could do more. You want a copy of that, or have you got one? Okay. Scott, you want to come up and kind of give us a little road vacay thing? I think that's where we're at.
Probably better off having Stephanie do it.
Have Stephanie come up. I just wanted a background, so. Miss Matson, come on down. You can bring up everybody's chair. Just make sure you get your microphone and tell us who's here and where you're from, and grab her a chair, big boy. No, it's not. Tell him to get you a chair.
Okay, so I'm Stephanie Tuga Madsen with Coldwell Banker, and I represent one of the owners down in this property, by this property. There's 4 owners
Okay,
that we're looking to vacate the road that goes to the old bridge. And this is Kelly Shaw and Richie Shaw.
I need to hear it from your guys' mouth.
I
And where
am
you're from.
Kelly Shaw, and I live at this address,
Okay,
of
you-
the
you-
4600 West, 6000 North in Honeyville.
And I'm Rich Shaw, and we basically wanted to come before the commission, and we've been trying to work this issue for many years. Commissioner Bingham is very well aware of the issues that we have down there. And we cannot find any documentation that this has ever been properly vacated to Honeyville City.
Okay,
It's on the very west tip, the west border of Honeyville City. It's an abandoned old road that goes to an abandoned old bridge.
I know where it's at.
And it's, for lack of a better term, it is a attractive nuisance. It does
I
not
like
go to
that.
any,
That's-
it does not go to any buddy's house or anything. It goes to,
Okay.
like Stephanie mentioned, a couple other property owners below my property. And I just have a few examples of the stuff that goes on down here. This is like 10 bags of trash, graffiti on the old bridge.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's a paved road, and so people believe it goes somewhere, but it actually does not.
When
So-
did we suspend the bridge? Do you guys have any idea?
Early
I don't-
70s is what I.
Early
I
70s.
don't know when that happened. We've owned the property for over, it's getting
96,
close
97.
to 20 years
Wow.
now. And when we purchased that on the plat map, this is always said by,
Box Elder County.
yeah. And so then
Hmm.
we kind of just, we don't look at the plat maps all the time,
Right.
but then had it looked at several different times through the years, just when there's been a new nuisance happen. There's a long,
Oh, I
long
can only imagine.
miserable history with the
Aaron?
Box Elder County Sheriff's records.
Does this show up on our road maps?
Yeah.
So we're actually getting paid for it.
It shows up as it's a class
shows as a city road?
A class,
Honeyville City Road.
okay, Honeyville City Road, but it comes to a bridge that's in Box Elder. Yes, May, please, Annie.
Steve's been looking into this since has been working with them, and we found that it's a Class C road. The area was annexed into Honeyville, and as part of the state statute, when the annexation occurs, all roads within that area then belong to the city that receives the annexation. The difference with this road is that for some reason it was actually deeded, which is really rare in Box Elder County because it's normally dedicated by use. This one has our name on the deed, Box Elder County's name on the deed. And so from what we've seen, it's a Class C road. Likely Honeyville's been receiving the Class C funds for it. And we could, instead of a vacation, it may make more sense just to do a quick claim deed to change the name on the deed to Honeyville.
Okay.
Is it possible to quit claim deed the property, since we've already had a surveyor write all the descriptions, and just quick claim deed it to the two property owners, and we would sign in one session, one fell swoop. Right away access to the property owners that are below that. Is that a possibility?
We'd have to work it out with Honeyville since it's technically their road and this is just a technicality on the deed. We would have to work all that out with them. We could deed it, just do the quick claim to them since technically should have been maintaining it all this time and it's their road. And then from there, they can just decide they could vacate it or sign it over if they wanted to do that for a year.
So basically, we can't vacate it, but we can give it back to you. Well, we can give it back to Honeyville.
So
And then Honeyville will have to,
can I make a recommendation? This
Yeah.
has been going on for a long time and it's been batted back and forth and around. If we're gonna do that, Annie, could you then summarize what you're saying? That the research that you've done and what the county commission feels like should be done so that we can hand that to Honeyville so that they don't have to start all over again?
Yeah,
Be
yeah, we
awesome.
could do that. And they've done a lot of work in researching it also. That's how we realized that a deed even existed with Box Elder County's name on it. Cause like I said, the majority of our roads, there's never a deed issued for it. And so we
prescriptive
can just
easement.
take all the information they've provided and then we can do the quick claim, package that all up and provide it to Honeyville so they'll know how to move forward.
Yeah,
with your
and the
request.
reason I say that is boards have a tendency to change. We've been talking about this for a long time. And so if they don't have any information and it just comes back and say, we want to do this again, it's just going to be another long
Yeah, I
process.
don't want to start the process over. if
Yeah.
possible.
Come on,
It's-
you're gonna live
it's
that long?
something that I think we did the very first searches clear back, maybe 15 years ago. Yeah, when we actually built our home along there and when we actually was on site and saw everything going on. And then, it's.
All I
not
can
that
tell you
anyone
from
wants to block anything
The
off.
the
and
sheriff's
things are
department would
both-
be happy if we actually got it blocked off. I mean,
I
that's,
hope so. We're
They're
No.
always
frequent- they're
dial.
frequent flyers, and I do want to thank the sheriffs.
Yes.
Because the picture that I
They-
showed you of all the trash.
right.
They ended up cleaning it up
Yeah, by hand,
by
several
hand,
times.
And it's not just there. There's been several. I've had the silage pit full of garbage, but all of his officers have been very understanding. They found who dropped that garbage.
Mm.
And it was a single parent that they went and found, and they had left garbage at their rental place that they just left. And
Oh, my
so
goodness.
he ended up getting them to clean up the rest, the big mess that they'd left in the rental office. So
So what we're gonna do.
Can I just
Yeah.
interject one more thing to make
Okay.
sure we have a record of it? Is this could trigger, why didn't we go through the surplus process since we're changing a deed and doing a quick claim? If that's what you choose to do to proceed, that's still up to you. But this wouldn't fall under the surplus property because it's technically not our property.
Property,
It
yeah.
moved with the annexation. This is just cleaning up the records.
And this should have been done 20, 30, 40 years ago.
But we'll do that only if that's the way you want to go.
And if we decide to do that, I would sure be willing to come to Honeyville and meet with them
Oh,
and
we
talk to them in
appreciate
an
that.
open meeting so that we
Yeah.
can,
I know that the roads and grounds guy has tried to do what he can, but he's come to dead end roads
Okay.
in all.
So I don't think we need to make a motion, but we want to direct staff to do basically what you just said, Annie.
Okay.
Is that right, Commissioner?
yeah. And if you. get that
Lee, are you
information to
still
me-
up there in heaven talking to us?
He in heaven, no accent. I'm listening to Elvis Presley here in Las Vegas, but yes, I'm still here. And I think, yeah, I think that's great to direct staff to do that because I think it makes sense
Okay.
to take care of this problem.
Yep, so we'll just direct staff to do a click claim deed and then get it to Honeyville. And then if you need any other help from us, or like I said, Commissioner Bingham will go. If you need minutes from this or whatever you needed done to send it to him. And I would actually say that Annie could probably make time, hopefully, if it wasn't on one of her council person's night, she might be able to come help Commissioner Bingham too. So
So Annie, how long do you think it'd take to get that documentation in hand?
I think we could put it together by next week.
Okay, so I'll
Is that
get
quick
that on
enough
the
for you?
agenda for the next month in Honeyville.
Okay, wonderful. So we don't need to contact Honeywell.
what
at
took you
this
so long to
point.
get
Okay,
here?
Thank you.
What took you so long to get
Well,
here? Stephanie's gonna,
There's a roundabout answer to that. I don't know if
Okay.
you want it, but.
no. We appreciate it.
Thank
Let's
you
hopefully
so
get that
much
done
for
as soon
your
as we
time.
can.
If
Thanks,
you
you
will,
guys.
Thanks for
Good
coming.
to
Get the
see you.
deed done so we can get on the agenda because we do have a closing pending this
Okay.
transaction,
They just,
this deeding and vacating.
Marla just said that we should probably have a motion for that. So
So,
I'd,
for Honeyville, you mean?
We need.
Yes.
We have a transaction pending on.
yes.
Yeah, so, they should meet on the second Wednesday of February, and if Andy can get that to me next week, I'll get on the agenda today, so we should be able to do that pretty quick.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'd entertain a motion.
do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'd make a motion that we proceed with the action to have Andy take care of that and have Boyd follow up with Honeyville.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Commissioner Perry and a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Marla. Okay, I think we're down to the letter support. With all the internet that's going on throughout the county, we have had multiple people help us, and Rocky Mountain Power has been pretty amazing to do some of the things that they've done. I'd just like to send them a letter of support. We went out to Howell and identified probably 50 telephone poles that probably were placed in a civil war. Just kidding. But to the expense of what's going to have to happen, not only in Howell, but other areas that Rocky Mountain Power has seen fit to replace poles and let us let the broadband get on their poles to access people in rural communities. So I just on the letter, it just says, on behalf of the Box Elder County Commissioners, right to express support and appreciation of the continued efforts, the performance made by Rocky Mountain Power as they will work diligently in tackling the endeavor of the broadband build out. It's refreshing to see the alignment between two entities sharing resources to undertake such a specific and mutually beneficial project. It is our belief that the strategic collaboration between Rocky Mountain Power and the broadband build out will be instrumental to all communities in developing more effective high-speed internet infrastructure. This project will be invaluable for generations to come, and it will be a significant asset to Box Elder County and Utah. Box Elder County Commissioners are working closely with all the involved to bring this project to fruition. We would look forward to working with Rocky Mountain Power as this project moves forward. Sincerely, the commissioners. So I'd entertain a motion to sign this from all the commissioners and send it to Rocky Mountain.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, a second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Do you want the addresses to send that to? From Rocky Mountain? Probably ought to do the one to Beehive too. If you don't have that one, let me know. No, I think just email would be fun. Reader. Yeah. Scott, I think you're up. Did that vacate come in front of the planning commission? Okay, that's why you looked at me with that. Okay.
We knew it was coming. We told him just to move forward.
Oh, okay. I was confused. Which, yeah, I know.
Happens, does happen.
Happens.
Okay, so what I have today is resolution 23-01, moderate income housing report. So at your meeting in December 21st of 2022, we brought some modifications to the county's moderate income housing plan. Those modifications are a mandate from the state. During the 2022 legislative session, they passed some requirements, basically a menu of items. They've done this, I think, in 2020 as well. And they said you need to select from this menu of items on how you're going to implement, what strategies you're going to implement to increase moderate income housing in your county. I don't necessarily agree with how the legislature's done it, but I will pass that information on to them And
that we actually did it. And I don't appreciate all the things that come attached with things either that make us do things that we necessarily don't want to do.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, with my gripes aside, we basically what they did this last year was they said, here's a menu of items, 20 some odd items. You have to pick 3 of those things and implement them. And if you don't do that, then we'll take away funding. We're probably going to see another change to this legislative session because they realized that the funding that they threatened to take away impacts regions, not just cities or counties
Right.
specifically. So if the.
And we tried to tell them that when they passed it the last time, but nobody would listen.
Yeah.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Does the county have impact fees?
currently no.
Currently, no, that's what I was gonna say. Normally that's for water or,
Usually there's stormwater impact fees, there are park impact fees, there
Yeah.
are, so there are a variety of things like that. The county currently does not have impact fees. That's why if you look at the 2 strategies we selected, L and R, we selected those because it was something we were already doing.
okay,
Now, they made us put some implementation. So the bold is the strategy that we selected from their menu. And then the regular writing below that is how we would implement that strategy. We basically stated that we currently don't charge impact fees and we don't plan to charge impact fees in 2023. And their moderate income housing is on a 5-year timeline. So within this 2027 timeline, that's why that was referenced. If the county is considering charging impact fees within that timeline, then we said that we would waive those specific to moderate income housing or to accessory dwelling units.
okay.
So basically, we would stay on, with regard to those 2 items, we would stay on the same trajectory that we're already on. We figured those were 2 menu items that would be quite easy to select and continue to comply with. And then the other one, strategy E there, create or allow for and reduce regulations to internal or detached accessory dwelling units in residential zones. So we already do both of those, and we just committed to continue doing that, tracking how many applications and approvals for accessory dwelling units and submitting those numbers to the state annually. So that's essentially what we're committing to with this report, and we'll see how the 2023 legislative session plays out.
I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we pass Boxelder County Resolution 23-01. Moderate income housing
That-
Was
report.
that a second?
I'll
Lee?
second it.
Okay, I got a motion.
I'll
by
second it.
Commissioner Bingham and a second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Scott. Sorry, they make us do the redundancy of this stuff. Yeah.
For every employee in the county. Okay. Yeah, I'll send it to you electronically.
Thanks.
Okay, so I have 2 early HSA payment agreements that we need to receive approval to pay. They are confidential, so if you'd like to know the names of them, we would need to go into a closed session to discuss that. But it's something we normally do if there's a medical need.
I'd entertain a motion for the early HSA.
I move that we go into closed session.
We can do it. till-
Second it.
You want to wait and go into closed
Yeah,
session
and
at the
come
end, we
back
can
out
do
and do it.
that too.
Okay.
However you want to do it.
I got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll have to wait till we go back in to sign all the warrant register and stuff then. Okay. Hope everybody else heard that.
end the meeting.
Did she run out? Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Okay.